for today, or are you going to be here tomorrow?
I'm here tomorrow as well.
You're here tomorrow as well. Is there anything in particular while you're here in lovely San Antonio that you're looking forward to being able to do or see?
You know, I'm not very, I always get to some place and then think, where am I? And so I Googled San Antonio. I didn't even know where it was. I'm like, oh, it's pretty far south. And then I didn't keep reading. And then today I'm like, actually I should read what's going on here, because we passed the Alamo. I'm like, what was the Alamo? And amazingly, half the people I passed today from Texas are like, I don't remember. And then my husband, so how I found out a little bit about the Alamo was my South African husband knew. So they have better schools there? I don't know. So anywho, it's a test I passed a long time ago. But, you know, I like history. Maybe that would be a cool thing.
Absolutely. No, it's a fun stop. It's definitely, we're Alamo City and the River City.
I saw the river. I walked along that last night.
It's not as gorgeous as the coast in California, of course, but it's
right.
Something we've got to offer here in San Antonio.
Yeah, and it's accessible because our coast is actually, I don't live on the coast, and so it's a bit of a drive, and then the parking is really challenging, and then people were allowed to build so that they block the beach, so it's not actually like you see on Baywatch. It's really hard to access.
Oh, I wouldn't have imagined that.
And the water's cold and kind of polluted, so I scuba dived in it. I went underwater, and it's really freaking cold.
Yeah, no, I would definitely not suggest scuba diving in the Riverwalk. You might find some lost rings or wallets, but I don't know what you'll come out of.
I have a feeling you could walk on that water, but it was very pretty to look at. No.
Well, okay, let's jump in then to some more questions about what you've been doing lately. I personally am a huge True Blood fan. But before I ask you about that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about your more recent role as Maleficent on Once Upon a Time. How did you come across that role? I mean, did they contact you? Did you hear that there was going to be an audition? Can you tell us a little bit about that process, about getting into the role?
That was a slightly unique process in that we were shooting, I can't remember if I was I must have been shooting True Blood, and my manager called with my agent on the phone as well, which usually means there's a bit of a conversation to have when there's a conference call, and they said there was an episode of a show that hadn't aired yet, but it was the dudes who wrote Lost, and I'm always 10, 20 years behind. Like right now I'm watching West Wing. Like I'm always really, and Cheers, and Magnum PI. So I'm always really, really behind. So I hadn't seen Lost yet, but I knew it was great. And they said, do you want to play Maleficent? It's just one episode. And I was like, Maleficent. I was with my mom too, and in Wisconsin, I had to drive her to a hair appointment, and she hates being late. So she was standing there and I said, Maleficent, the green lady. And they said, I go, with horns. They said, yes. I go, right. Oh, she was cool. And it was before the movie, the Angelina movie. So it was just the cartoon in my head. And then one of the two, my agent at the time was saying, don't do it. It's just one episode, it's an unproven show, and she was doing her agent viewpoint. And my manager was like, who cares if it's an unproven show? If it flops, Kristin won't be blamed for anything because she's just doing one episode. So they were arguing back and forth. And my mom is going, honey, we gotta go. And so I took a coin out of my pocket and flipped it. Heads I do it, tails I don't, and it was heads. So I said, I'm doing it, I gotta go. And then I had to fly in and shoot it on a Saturday, which is how I think I was shooting probably True Blood or something else. So, and then I called the costumer, they'll call to get your sizes. So I did my measurements for them, and they said, okay, I think it'll fit. And that's unusual that they have built something before the actress was hired. So I said, oh, it's built already. What, did you buy something? No, we make everything. Oh, that's cool. So what is it? And she said, I think it's a purple thing. And I said, well, I'm picturing Barney the dinosaur, so can you be a little more specific? And she said, I can't. Okay. So I flew in, went to costumes. They put it on me, and they said, oh, thank God it fits. And then I went to the set the next morning, and Lana was super welcoming. And we went into a room about this size that's all green. And there were just 2 chairs and a rug, and my unicorn, of course. And then I was trying to kind of walk around a little with the dialogue and figure out where I was going to stand. And then they would say, you're standing in the fireplace now. And then, now you're in a wall. And so I wasn't, Lana goes, have you ever done green screen? I'm like, not really. So she was so sweet to say, can you show her what it looks like on the iPad, like where you are. So I looked, and it was this incredible castle. And then I'm like, that's someone else in my costume. And Lana goes and looks, and she goes, oh my God, don't show her that. It was another actress they had hired and fired and called me last minute. And I also know that actress, and she wasn't nice to me. So I had a whole moment of like, is that, oh, what? And then, so we filmed the scene. We had a great time. They called me back to film another scene I did with Josh Dallas, where I become the dragon. But of course, once I become the dragon, I'm not there. I'm on a plane on my way home. So I was reading the entire script on my way home, and I continued reading after my last dialogue line, which I don't often do. And I'm like, oh my God, I was just killed. I was gutted. So, like, oh no. And then I went they had a screening in LA, and I went and I saw Eddie and Adam and said, you killed me. And they said, oh, it's once upon a time, it doesn't mean anything. So then after True Blood was over, and I didn't really want to start a new show. I wanted to just do something that was familiar. It felt really strange to go from a familiar set for 7 years to nothing, to a new school, completely new school. I don't want to go to a new school. So, I thought Maleficent was an amazing character, even if I hadn't played her. That's a character that should be explored more than 2 episodes. Absolutely. So I told my manager to tell them I'm available. And then they had me the whole second half of the season. So I don't know if that was related to my, hey, do you want to continue dating? I don't know. But I was glad. And that was nice to go up there to Canada for a few months and hang out with Lana. And also Marin and Victoria were amazing. It's such a great cast.
It really is, and whatever it was that you did, it certainly worked. So, was there anything in particular that you did to sort of prepare to play one of the most iconic villains of all time? I mean, I remember being really little and watching Sleeping Beauty and seeing Maleficent on the screen, and in one moment being terrified of her and also just falling in love with her simultaneously, and you encompassed that so perfectly. Like, was there anything that you did to prepare to take on that role?
I didn't. I tend to...
It's just you.
I just am brilliant. It's really easy for me. You are. To be a genius. No, I tend to go with kind of my first instincts. I don't feel like I get better the longer that I think about it. So I tend to try to remember what my first instinct was. I do remember making sure, because Pam was so tough and Maleficent so tough, that I wanted to make sure that they were different. And I had gone straight from one to the other both times. And so I wanted her, Pam had a specific voice, so I made sure to not fall into that deeper voice. And you have so much help on the set from the other actors and the director, but the dialogue seemed really clear to me as Maleficent, that she had kind of again, she was a little bit blasé and had a good sense of humor. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they were helpful to me.
Fantastic. Did you get to keep anything from set?
I didn't.
No?
I didn't, and
Is there anything that you wanted to?
Not that I remember. I mean, really, the sets, there was nothing there. And then the costumes, they're very beautiful and very happy to put them on, but you're also very happy to take them off at the end of the day. So, back to my PJs, it's my fantasy.
Absolutely. We've got to find you that Pikachu onesie.
I know.
We really do. Well, okay, switching gears a little bit, and then, because I want to be able to hand things over to our audience as well, to talk about True Blood for a second. Pam was such a powerhouse on the show, and her character is just incredible. And is there any part of Pam that you felt like really resonated within you personally, or like within your embodiment of the character of Pam? I mean, you were her for 7 seasons. Mm-hmm. So is there a particular aspect of her personality that you're like, yes, this is me too. This is Pam, but this is also me as Kristin?
I don't know, I was going to say by the end, but it was probably more like by the middle. It's hard to even remember how I felt in the beginning, but I can't remember when it happened, but I remember thinking, has Pam ever been wrong? No. Like, every person that she hated was a douchebag. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
She was just truthful. And I started thinking, she doesn't lie. She tells you what she's thinking. She's never two-faced. She's correct. And so she's saying what we're all thinking. And the only difference is that she doesn't worry about being liked. So she just says it. And it was great when they wrote her, how she was made. It really fit in with the way I'd been playing her. You just couldn't get sympathy from Pam ever. And once we found out what her life was like in 1905, I thought, she's had it so hard, and she was in the hardest profession and the hardest time for women. And so that's why she's not sympathetic. She's like, are you kidding me? Try being a woman hooker in 1900. So, and I feel like basically there's a part of me, I was going to say a core of me, but that's a little frightening. There's a part of me that just is Pam. I just don't say it.
Well, you are very much yourself, and I think that's exactly what you just said. Pam is unapologetically Pam.
Right.
There's no reason for her to apologize for
right.
that. And I just meeting you here today, like I can say that you are who you are, and it's an absolutely beautiful thing. And I have to ask you something selfish. Do you still have your fangs?
I do. That's one thing that I do have. Yes.
I think that's definitely something I would have kept as well.
Yeah.
Like, how would you not?
Well, they're also made for us. They do a full mold of your mouth, and they make it a denture, and we would get a new set every year because they fall apart. But you have to keep your fangs.
Absolutely.
I've auctioned almost everything from the show for charity, but the fangs I have not auctioned.
Well, they're yours. You have to keep
them.
Okay, well, I'm taking up a lot of this time. I'd like to turn things over back to you guys and see what questions that the audience has for you today. First hand in the air, gentlemen, right here.
For season 4, after the Disney live action Maleficent was coming out, did you have to change the character in any way that you were going to play it?
I didn't see the movie until after I was done playing that because Angelina is so unbelievable. And I thought, I couldn't know if it would be in my head if I watched it, so I just thought, well, I'll just watch it later. But I think that they definitely, her costume changed quite a bit after the movie came out. She had the whole headgear and stuff, and the awesome collar.
That's more like a cartoon.
Yeah. And I think that they decided, it seemed like in the beginning she was just in a couple of scenes and then they were going to make a thing out of it. And I suspect that it wasn't just me calling, it was them wanting to capitalize on, the movie. I really loved, one day that stands out is because so much of the show, there's the green screen and there's stunts and the scene is really broken up and you do this tiny little bit and you just go like that and then cut and then you wait and then cut and you wait and then there isn't a feeling on the day like you're in a flow. And so the scenes where usually it's just two people talking are a little more satisfying. And so those scenes, the flashback scenes with Lana, we got to do those all on a day. I think we did 3 of them, and it was just the 2 of us for 14 hours. And she's so much fun and loves to act. Yeah. Oh, right. And also she was playing younger, with kind of her innocent, and so it was those were very sweet, wonderful. That was a great day. I haven't. I'm watching West Wing.
So maybe in about like 7 years.
17 years, I'm going to be right on schedule.
I saw your hand up first, right here.
Okay, so in, I believe it was like season 4 of Once Upon a Time, where we see more of Maleficent has a family of her own, particularly she has a child.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really get a hint of who the father is.
Mm-hmm.
But we see she was hatched in an egg. So
Right.
do you think the father is like a human being, or is it another dragon of sorts?
I know. I'm very curious. That scene that we did where they were stealing my egg, it kept striking me as very funny because I'm standing there and the egg's this big. And I'm like, can we have a little footnote that I gave birth to this egg in dragon form? Because otherwise it's pretty gross. It's weird. That's weird. And it was just really, and we're trying to be so emotional. And I just remembered that they kind of built this layer and the floor was like some sort of styrofoam and it squeaked. So when I walked, it was like squeak, 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 and I'm holding this egg. So those are the challenges of acting. But I have no idea, and the writers would really randomly give me information. So that day, when I'm, keeping the tears and the loss and all of that, Annie Adams said, "You don't really lose your daughter." And I'm like, "Really? Don't tell me that now, though, because I'm playing a scene of terrible grief." But they were so excited, like, no, wait, we've got this whole thing. It's so exciting. Your daughter's coming back. They never did that as far as who the father is.
Right here.
Yes.
So what is either your favorite or like the hardest scene, either from True Blood or Once Upon a Time that you have to do so far?
There were, I think the hardest, there were a couple scenes in True Blood. There was one that was very hard to shoot, which was when I was turned into a vampire. So that was challenging because, for one, I'd waited 5 years for that scene, so it was very important to me. And then they had to do prosthetics up my arms for slitting my wrists, and then there were hoses that went up and then down my back to 2 grown men at my feet pumping blood. And I had to kind of hold my arms it was incredibly delicate and wasn't working super great. So, and we shot that as a special piece, so the scene, everything leading up to it, had been shot in another day, and they were running behind, and so then I had to just show up, do all the prosthetics, get in the robe, get in the scene, and then they were just like, action, and my back was turned, and I had to turn around and give this, like, the most important speech of Pam's life, but I'm having to kind of move these arms around, and I'm looking out of the, and trying to be like, I'm killing myself, and then, it's not working. And then there's the two guys at my feet that I can also see, these two grown men I'm standing, straddling, that are like freaking out, you know, and then they're panicking, and then the director's coming out going, and he was one of the more sort of like intense directors, and he was like, why is it not working, and we've got to go, we're running late. Oh God, and then we had this visiting costumer who for some reason wanted to chat about her whole life in between takes. And she's, you know, what'd you do this weekend, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm killing myself right now. Can we chat later, whoever you are? So it was the strangest. And then and then I had a picture of how it would go, and the director was directing me in a completely opposite direction. And then they were like, great, done, we've got to move on. And everybody took off. I'm getting unhooked, and I'm standing there on the stage alone, and Alex went, great, Bauer, see ya. And I thought, oh my God, that was the biggest moment of 5 years for me. I have no idea what we just did. And then when they edited it together, it worked. But that was tough. It wasn't how I imagined it would be.
Did you have a question, sir? Yes.
How is it working with the cast of Seinfeld?
Oh my God, those guys were so fun. That's the dream job. I mean, I don't know if I could have been on any show if I would have picked a show to be on more than Seinfeld. Like, because for one, sitcoms are kind of a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job. And this was like a noon to 2 job, 3 days a week. I mean, I don't think they didn't work hard, they worked well. By that point, it was a very well-oiled machine. And the whole thing on sitcoms is to get laughs. And so you make each other laugh. And Jerry has a really easy laugh. And so we just laughed and talked and laughed, and everybody was so lovely. And it was awesome. It's such a funny episode. There's a couple of things in that episode that are so, like the Bizarro World, and then Kramer gets that job. One of my favorite lines was when he's in Jerry's kitchen at like 6 a.m. going to work, and he wakes Jerry up, and Jerry's like, what are you doing? And he goes, going to work. And he goes, how long have I been asleep? And then he goes, what do you have in the briefcase? And he goes, crackers, and leaves. Like that's so funny to me. It's so Kramer. It's just brilliant.
There was a clip on Facebook of the Queens of Darkness singing all together in the car.
From my phone. And Marin is so sweet and so funny. And Lana, the same thing. So it was just your typical, that's what would happen when we were shooting. Yeah, that's what it was like, and we were stuck in that tiny little car. It was a fun night.
Yes.
You alluded earlier to some of the challenges that you had converting from a kind of traditional filming to green screen filming. Is that something you want to go back to? I mean, it seems like a lot of green screen stuff is out there now, but we see it all the time. As an actor, what do you feel about that? Because you said it kind of distances you from being in the role and knowing what the story is like. I'd be interested in your thinking on that.
It does. The nice thing about it is it removes the physical uncomfortableness of a set. Like if you were, of a location. So if you were actually shooting in a castle. It'd probably be cold, and it would just be kind of not as comfortable as being on a stage with your trailer right there and craft service right there. So that's nice. Now you do have to, it's very hard to remember or to imagine, because if you are in a castle and you're not a superhero where you wouldn't feel cold, there would be things about it that you would naturally feel and borrow from what you're actually experiencing. You can't do that with a fake environment. So an example on True Blood was we used to, when they would silver us, it would burn our skin, and we used to have tubes under the silver that would put out smoke. They would run back down our clothes to dry ice. And you were supposed to be debilitated by the silver, where you couldn't move, you couldn't lift your arms. When we had those tubes and the smoke coming out, you would remember to be weak and not move your arms, and if you were talking, you would be more like this. Well, last season, they were like, they'll CG the smoke in. So we had a scene where Alex and I have huge chains on us, around our necks, around our arms, and we've established a tiny little thread, and we're paralyzed. Alex and I are like, listen, buddy, we're doing this scene because we're there, it's an aggressive scene, this guy's gonna kill us. And then the producers watched it and went, oh shit. They shouldn't be able to move, their voices should be weak. We all missed it because the smoke wasn't there and it was going in later. So then what we had to do was go into ADR and loop it with weaker voices. And they tried to cut around it, which, by the way, looping a weaker voice, when you've been talking like this, and then you try to match the mouth to talking like this, it was so challenging. And I thought, this is why I've seen some movies with brilliant actors. Which one of the Star Wars was not the recent, but it was, let's see, I always get that confused. 4, 5, 6, was it 7, 8, 9? So it was Samuel, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman. 1, 2, 3. Those are some of the best actors we have on the planet. And there was just something not quite there in their acting. And I bet you anything, it was because the whole movie was if they were in that gorgeous landscape, they weren't. They were in a green room. And there's no way to not, as an actor, have to work harder and just try to think of what you are missing that you can't know you're missing. Yeah. Yes.
You mentioned Alex. How was it working with him? Because y'all were so funny together. The work you could give him was like hilarious.
We laughed a lot. He is one of the funniest people. I think he could be the funniest person I've ever met. And he was just fun to be around, easy to be around, and such a great actor. And so it was endlessly just awesome. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about him. So that helped a lot because that was Pam's only love of her existence. So I got so lucky that I actually really liked him. I know, I got so lucky. I know, because that relationship with Lana when we did those flashbacks, if you can, whatever you have that's just there, and that's the same green screen thing, whatever's there just adds to it that you can use. And then the stuff that you have to make up, you fill in. But that's a little more challenging. It really does. And also, like you know from all of your work experiences, it's just to have people around you that are great and you get along with and it's easy makes or breaks the whole thing. And still you can be doing a good job and you can love what you do, but at the end of the day you're just like, oh, I'm exhausted because someone is making your life hell. It's the same thing on a set, if not even more so, because you're working 14-hour days, 14 to 19 hours, and you're just stuck in this little fishbowl.
Yeah, I can definitely say we can all agree that who you work with is
We've
the
all
most
experienced
important,
it.
and I can't imagine being stuck just in such small quarters
Yes.
with people that you couldn't stand. So it makes it so much better.
And it happens.
Yes, it does. It happens to us.
It happens to everyone. I didn't have it on either of those shows.
Well, y'all, we've got about 6 minutes left, so I can probably do about 2 more questions. Minnie Mouse, right here.
So, because you have that great relationship, what was it like filming the scene when you're released?
Oh.
As a viewer, I was
terrible.
It killed me. It killed me. It killed me when I got the script and I read it, and then the table read killed me, and then the rehearsal killed me, and then shooting it killed me. And the camera was on my back, and I was sobbing, and they're like, save it. And I'm like, I can't stop crying. I hated everything about it. I hated it. It was such a good scene. It was such a good scene. I know. I still don't know why, though, because Alex and I both were like, we don't want to film it. And then we said to the writer, Alex Wu, we said, why is he releasing her? And he said, because she'll be safer if she can't feel that he's in danger. And we said, why? And he goes, because she would come to his aid. And Alexander goes, do you watch the show? And he goes, no, if he was really in danger. And he goes, yeah, I was burning at the stake in the season finale, and she was fine. And then he goes, well, if you did die, she would then get all of his worldly possessions. And we're like, no, she wouldn't. And we already did the scene where he left everything to her. And he was like, just go film it. Like, I'm your boss. Stop talking to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. No, all the best outfits, which was most of them, right? They were always incredible. A company came in and bought all of them and sold them. They auctioned them. So they were, and then the super iconic ones, they really bought. And then some of them even went on tour, I heard, because I would get texts or see stuff on social media that one of my outfits was somewhere on tour. And so when they did give me some stuff, I showed up and I picked it up, and I didn't even recognize it. I don't think it's anything I wore. And I auctioned all of it, and then I gave one jacket to Mariana Clivino, who played Lorena, because it didn't even fit me. I was like, I don't even think this was mine. And it was too small, and she's tiny, so I gave it to her, and I saw her recently, and she was wearing it. And so all those incredible outfits aren't mine. There was one great, it was great, that I do have. I think I wore it to one red carpet event, and it'll just hang in my closet.
Which one did you?
Well, there were a couple outfits she bought on eBay that were vintage, and one was that fabulous red leather dress, and another one was a black leather Cavalli dress that had a two-way zipper, and it was just this great collar, and just gorgeous. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Okay, we can do one more question before we wrap up, y'all.
I know, I leave this to you.
Okay, I'm sorry you went first. We're going to go with you right over here, right here. Yes, you.
Conventions are all
Yeah, and it happens, people come up to me and if they're really geeking out, they often say, oh my God, I just binge watched it. And I know that that experience is really intoxicating because I had that with Battlestar Galactica. And then I saw Trisha Helfer go by and I was like, oh my God. And then she was going into photos and I was next. So when I showed up and I was waiting and she was kind of just leaving the photo area and I was walking in and I was like, you're so amazing. And I was so fanning that she thought I was the next person in line. So she just went, thanks, and put her arm around me and looked to the And I was like, oh, and then she went, so nice to meet you, and she laughed. Yeah, and I'm not sure if she put that together, if I just met her anew next time. But we do all this animal stuff. We show up at the same events we end up at. And she's super nice. And she might just be a little reserved as a person, but I feel like she's a little leery of me. I think she might remember that I'm that super fangirl. Because I was watching it so much, and I was so into it, that when I wasn't watching it, I would be worried about them. I felt like the war was happening as I was sitting there, like, oh my God, right now, like I had to go check to see if they were okay.
Alrighty, y'all. Well, unfortunately, we are just about out of time. Can you please give Kristin Bauer a round?
Thank you, everyone.
You've got photo op opportunities, so if you guys have not signed up for that yet, snatch
Today
them
at 6, but I'm
now.
not sure tomorrow.
You've got 15 minutes before your photo op today. If it's, you said 6?
Yeah.
We're right at, 14 now. So we
Okay.
won't keep you much longer.
Okay.
But yes, head on over, get your pictures while you can, and thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.